It might come as a shock to learn that the CIA has been lying about President John F. Kennedy's assassination. It only took decades to be able to say that out loud. Crazy, isn't it? All of this deception, of course, was in an effort to prevent the American people from knowing the truth about what happened on that fateful day. And now, out of nowhere, the FBI has suddenly discovered 2,400 new JFK documents, 14,000 pages of information. The timing is certainly interesting, coming just weeks after former President Donald Trump called for the full release of all JFK-related documents.
Sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades.
To make sense of all this, we turn to someone who arguably knows more about this case than anyone else in the country, Roger Stone. Stone, the author of The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, has extensively researched the assassination and its many dark secrets. So, what does he make of this sudden discovery? Well, according to Stone, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Many of the crucial documents related to Kennedy's murder were never included in the official JFK Assassination archive. Instead, they exist across various federal agencies, hidden in plain sight. If the president is serious about full disclosure, he should order the release of all documents from every federal agency, not just those conveniently placed in the archive. And it doesn't stop there. If we're going to seek the full truth, we must also look at the records related to the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy, who was murdered while running for president, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was also assassinated under suspicious circumstances. These records extend beyond just the CIA. They exist in the archives of the Los Angeles Police Department, the Memphis Police Department, and the Dallas authorities. The bureaucrats, however, are playing their usual games, hiding documents here and there, delaying transparency, and ultimately keeping the full truth from the American people. Congressman Steve Cohen and Tim Burchett have even written to the president, outlining where these missing documents might be stashed and urging him to assign a liaison to ensure every last document is declassified and released. But let's talk about what might still be redacted. What crucial pieces of the puzzle will remain hidden? Historically, the government has resisted full transparency. Back in the late 1990s, a law was passed mandating the release of all JFK assassination documents, but the deadline was pushed to 2017. When the time came, President Trump declassified about 80% of the files, revealing shocking details we had never seen before. For example, one memo from FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover to President Lyndon B. Johnson stated that Soviet intelligence had conducted its own investigation and concluded that Johnson himself had played a role in Kennedy's murder in collaboration with multiple federal agencies. And yet, the most sensitive parts of the documents were withheld, at the insistence of then CIA Director Mike Pompeo, who claimed that releasing them would expose the agency's methods and sources. Trump later admitted that Pompeo convinced him to block full disclosure. This means that the missing piece of the puzzle likely involves the CIA's role in the assassination. While Stone argues that Johnson was the mastermind, pulling the strings and calling the shots, he was far from acting alone. Johnson had deep connections to the CIA, serving as the agency's financial gatekeeper while he was in Congress. Further supporting this theory, audio recordings have surfaced where Johnson's associates openly discuss how Malcolm E. Wallace, a known Johnson crony, was the hitman responsible for Kennedy's assassination. Wallace's fingerprints were even found on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, the very spot from which Lee Harvey Oswald supposedly fired the fatal shots. But the CIA's involvement goes even deeper. The agency was furious with Kennedy after the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion, which had been planned under Eisenhower but executed under Kennedy's watch. The original plan included air support from Cuban exiles flying U.S.-supplied bombers under Panamanian flags. But Kennedy insisted that the invasion appear as an organic Cuban uprising, not an overt American military operation. What Kennedy didn't know was that the CIA canceled the planned air support the day before the invasion, dooming it to failure. Afterward, the agency and military leaders, including General Curtis LeMay, were livid that Kennedy refused to escalate the operation into a full-scale U.S. invasion. And then there's the Cuban Missile Crisis. The official story claims that Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, stood firm against the Soviet Union, forcing Nikita Khrushchev to back down and remove the missiles from Cuba. But classified documents released decades later tell a different story. Kennedy had secretly agreed to remove American nuclear missiles from Italy and Turkey in exchange for the Soviets pulling out of Cuba. This infuriated the military-industrial complex, which wanted war, not negotiation. Big Oil was also against Kennedy as he was working to repeal their lucrative tax breaks. The banking elites were angry because he was pushing for silver-backed currency, threatening the Federal Reserve's control. And of course, organized crime had its own reasons to want Kennedy dead. During his presidential campaign, Kennedy's father, Joseph Kennedy, had struck a deal with the mob, promising that his son's administration would protect key mob figures from deportation. But after JFK took office, his brother Bobby, now Attorney General, launched an aggressive crackdown on organized crime, breaking the deal and making powerful enemies. With all these factions against Kennedy, it's no surprise that his assassination was far from the work of a lone gunman. The real story, however, has been buried for decades. Now, with the recent push for declassification, there's a chance that we might finally get a glimpse of the missing pieces, especially the CIA's role. Roger Stone even spoke with former President Trump, urging him to release not just the JFK files, but also documents related to the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan, which remains shrouded in mystery. Strangely, despite John Hinckley Jr. being the official shooter, Reagan was hit by a bullet fired from behind, raising serious questions about what really happened that day. Stone, who is writing a book on the subject, believes these records could reveal even more about the hidden workings of power in America. And let's not forget other assassination attempts. Representative Anna Paulina Luna has been pushing for a new JFK commission, arguing that clear evidence points to multiple shooters. But will this commission uncover the truth, or simply whitewash history yet again? The reality is that nearly every modern president has faced assassination attempts, some of which have been conveniently downplayed or erased from public memory. From attempted attacks on Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon, and even Donald Trump, the pattern is undeniable. So what is the government still hiding? Will we finally get the full story, or just more redacted pages? As history has shown us, the fight for truth is far from over,